$90,000. That's all. $90,000 for a home sitting right on the edge of a river in Alabama with 2 covered boat slips, a pier, a big screened porch, and 240 feet of actual waterfront stretching out in front of you. And honestly, my first reaction was, what's wrong with it? There's always a catch, right? That's what your brain immediately goes to, because we've been trained to believe that waterfront is for people with a different tax bracket, that the good stuff, the water views, the quiet mornings, the sound of something other than traffic, costs more than most of us will ever have. But today, we're going to find out if that's actually true. 3 waterfront and riverside properties. 3 different states. 3 completely different versions of what it means to live near the water without spending a fortune. Let's get into it. Property. Number 1, $90,000. Ager, Alabama. There's something about this place that immediately feels calm. Not luxurious, not dramatic, just peaceful. The house sits right along the edge of the Black Warrior River in Ager, tucked beneath tall trees with the water stretching out just beyond the yard. This property feeling less like a cheap listing and more like a hidden little river escape. The first feature that really stands out is the screened-in porch. It wraps along the side facing the water, and honestly, it feels like the emotional center of the property. You can picture rainy afternoons out there, ceiling fan spinning slowly, coffee on the table, the river just sitting quietly a few feet away. That porch alone completely changes the experience of the house. And then you notice the boat slips. 2 covered slips sitting directly on the water with a private pier stretching out beside them. Not decorative waterfront, usable waterfront. The kind of setup where someone could genuinely spend most weekends fishing, boating, or just sitting near the water until sunset. The yard itself is surprisingly flat too, which matters more than people think on waterfront properties. It actually feels usable. Space for chairs, grilling, small gatherings, maybe even a fire pit near the shoreline. Inside, the home is compact, just under 730 square feet, but the layout feels warmer than expected. The kitchen flows directly into the small dining and living area, and the space feels intentionally simple instead of cramped. Light-colored cabinets, soft, natural light through the curtains, wood-toned countertops. Nothing expensive, but everything feels comfortable and easy to maintain. And honestly, that's part of the charm here. This doesn't feel like a property pretending to be luxury. It feels like a place built around the river lifestyle first. The bedrooms are small but cozy. The hallway and interior have that slightly narrow manufactured home layout, but the decor softens it enough that it doesn't feel cold or neglected. Outside, there's also extra storage, covered parking, and enough open space around the property that it still breathes visually. You never feel boxed in by neighbors. The house itself is also a manufactured home from the 1980s, so while it's clearly been cared for, it's not going to appreciate like premium waterfront real estate. And honestly, I think that's who this property is really for, not someone chasing investment returns. Not someone trying to impress people. This feels more like a place for somebody who's tired of noise, tired of traffic, tired of feeling financially trapped by modern housing prices. Because the truth is, affordable waterfront homes in America are becoming rare. And even though this place is small, simple, and imperfect, there's still something about it that feels emotionally rich. Okay, that one felt real. Small, but real. The next property takes us deeper south into Louisiana and into water that feels like it belongs to a different world entirely. Property number 2, $180,000. Acres, Louisiana. This place feels less like a house and more like an entire weekend lifestyle built directly over the water. A raised lake house sitting right at the edge of the canal. Metal roof catching the Louisiana sunlight. Covered boat docks stretching into the water beside it. It almost feels like the house was designed around boating first and everything else second. The screened porch immediately stands out. It runs along the side of the house overlooking the water, lined with bright blue chairs that make the whole place feel casual and social instead of polished or fancy. You can instantly picture crawfish boils, family weekends, football games playing quietly in the background, people staying outside long after sunset because there's nowhere else they'd rather be. Then you notice how much of the property is actually built for entertaining. Under the raised home, there's a full covered patio setup with swings, seating areas, cooking space, and what basically feels like an outdoor gathering zone. It's not trying to look luxurious, it's trying to be functional for real lake life, and honestly, that's what gives this property character. The boat setup is probably the biggest feature here. 2 covered boat lifts directly at the house, covered docking areas, easy access to the water. Everything about this property feels designed for somebody who genuinely spends time outside instead of just looking at the view through windows. Inside, the home feels surprisingly spacious for a waterfront property in this price range. The main living area has that warm, lived-in Louisiana camphouse feel. Wood accents, comfortable furniture, open seating, practical kitchen layout. Not modern luxury, but comfortable in a way that feels authentic. The kitchen itself is large enough to actually function for groups, which matters in a place like this. Long counters, bar seating, open connection to the living room. It feels designed for people constantly walking in from the water, grabbing food, talking, moving around. And then, the bedrooms tell you something important about the house, too. This place clearly wasn't designed for isolation. Bunk beds, multiple sleeping spaces, extra rooms. The whole layout feels built around weekends with family, fishing trips, visiting friends, kids running around after being out on the water all day. Even the smaller details add to that atmosphere. The raised storage shed, the outdoor fish cleaning style spaces, the grills downstairs, the wooden dock walkways. Nothing feels staged. It feels used in a good way, like generations of people may have spent summers here already. And at $180,000? Honestly, there's a surprising amount included. A lot of waterfront homes in America now feel financially impossible for average people. But places like Acres, Louisiana, still exist in this strange middle ground where waterfront living is expensive emotionally, but sometimes still affordable geographically. Of course, there are trade-offs. This is very much rural Louisiana lake life. Humidity, storms, flooding concerns, maintenance on docks and wood structures. That's part of the deal. And while the house has charm, it's not trying to compete with modern luxury lake homes. But I actually think that's why this property works. It feels real, not curated for Instagram, not designed for investors. Just a genuine waterfront home built around fishing, family, slow weekends, and being outside. For the right buyer, especially somebody dreaming about affordable waterfront living in America without spending $500,000, this place honestly feels kind of rare. Not perfect, but memorable. From the bayous of Louisiana to the banks of a Mississippi River. The last property in today's video is the one that surprised me the most, because on the surface, it looks like almost nothing. But the more you sit with it, the more the math starts getting interesting. Property number 3, $58,000, Columbia, Mississippi. This one feels different immediately, not because the house is dramatic. Actually, it's the opposite. It feels simple in a very intentional way. Sitting inside the Riverview Estates community near Columbia, the house itself is small, just 550 square feet. But the property has this quiet, low-pressure atmosphere that makes it feel more like a personal retreat than a traditional home. The first feature that stands out is the porches. Both the front and back are covered, and on a house this size, that matters a lot. The outdoor space almost becomes an extension of the interior. You can picture mornings out there with coffee while the grass is still wet from overnight humidity. Evenings where the light fades slowly across the Pearl River nearby. And honestly, the river views are better than you'd expect for this price. The water sits calm and wide behind the property, framed by trees and open sky in a way that almost feels disconnected from modern life. It doesn't feel crowded or heavily developed. It feels quiet. Inside, the layout is surprisingly clean and efficient. The living room flows directly into the kitchen with dark cabinets, simple countertops, and enough open space that the home doesn't feel claustrophobic. It's not luxurious, but it also doesn't feel temporary. Everything looks functional, organized, and easy to maintain, and that's part of what makes this property interesting. A lot of cheap homes feel like projects. This one feels ready to simply exist in. The bedroom is modest but comfortable, with soft, natural light and enough room for a full setup without feeling cramped. There's also a walk-in closet, which honestly makes a bigger difference in a smaller house than people realize. Outside, you start noticing the more practical features. There's a storage shed for tools and outdoor gear. A long, open yard with enough breathing room between neighboring homes. And then there's the skinning shed with water access, which tells you exactly what kind of lifestyle this property was built around. Fishing, hunting, river weekends, outdoor life. This isn't trying to be a luxury waterfront escape. It feels more like a place where somebody disappears for a quieter life. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Be honest with yourself. If the price was right and the location was somewhere you could actually see yourself going, which of these three would you actually consider? The Alabama River cabin with the boat slips? The Louisiana Bayou house between two major cities? Or the Mississippi Pearl River camp at a price that almost doesn't feel real? Which one felt like freedom? And which one felt like too much isolation? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one, and those conversations genuinely shape what we cover next. If you found this video useful, a subscription goes a long way. We cover hidden real estate, affordable land, and the overlooked corners of American property that most channels aren't paying attention to. Next video, we're heading somewhere a little unexpected. A part of the country where land prices haven't caught up to the beauty yet. You'll want to see it.